Welcome to the RBA Today, the Responsible Business Alliance's online news program. I'm your host, Laura Landau, and today I'm joined by the RBA's Director of Environment and Circularity, Dan Reed, and RBA's Environmental Specialist, Jordan Davis. Dan, Jordan, welcome, and thank you for joining us.
Great to be here.
Yeah, thanks for having us, Laura.
So, Dan, regarding the environmental space, can you tell us about the sustainability trends you see in the industry today, as well as some of the challenges companies face?
Sure. So I think the topic on everyone's mind and the word of the day is going to be regulation. Everyone is probably aware of the U.S. SEC's proposal or request for proposals and comments regarding their proposal for Scope 1, 2, and 3 required emissions reporting and financial disclosures. And as those comments came in, it was the most commented piece of proposed regulation that had ever come out of the SEC. So to say that there's been a little bit of interest in it would be an understatement. It sounds like they're going to dial it back just a little bit to focus more on Scopes 1 and 2, but of course we won't know until they finally release their final proposal. But I would say that any company that includes financial disclosures is going to have to include Scopes 1 and 2 reporting at least in their upcoming disclosures to the SEC.
Can you give us an update on the RBA's environmental effort and tools and how they can help companies reach their sustainability goals?
Thanks for your question, Laura. RBA recently launched our emissions management tool, which is to help companies solve this exact problem Dan is speaking to on having a way to report their Scope 1 and 2 emissions. And really, when you think about it, the hard part isn't necessarily reporting it, but it's getting the data and getting, some perhaps less mature suppliers to fill out that data as well. So our emissions management tool will be live to members and suppliers of members this coming April. And it's a quantification and reporting tool to really increase ESG programming and transparency and boost up that data collection in response to these regulations.
Thank you, Jordan. And so for those who may not know, do you mind explaining a little bit more on Scope 1, 2, and 3 emissions?
Yeah, of course. So the Greenhouse Gas Protocol, which is widely regarded as kind of the leading standard methodology for carbon accounting, defines Scopes 1, Scopes 2, and Scope 3. For Scope 1, that's going to be direct fuel consumption, so that happens on site. So think like a boiler or a furnace in, some type of location, a facility perhaps. Scope 2 would be indirect, like electricity purchase. So, we turn on the lights here and we have a provider that's actually producing electricity. That's their Scope 1, but since we turn on the lights here, that's our Scope 2. And then Scope 3 is where it gets a little tricky. It's kind of everything else under the sun. It encapsulates the whole value chain. And so there's 15 subcategories within that Scope 3. What we generally think about is that purchase goods and service. So, it could be anything from procurement of an item or even services. Several other categories that are also very important. And I think, to Dan's earlier point, a lot of the comments that the SEC got had a lot of clarifications, particularly around that Scope 3, which has a lot of categories in it.
So what should RBA members expect in the coming year?
So I would say the real theme of the year, in addition to the regulations that we expect to see, is going to be environmental due diligence. That really seems to be the upcoming trend in the way that a lot of governments, particularly in the EU, are starting to talk about the topic. It's not totally well defined yet, I would say. It's still a bit ambiguous, but I would say that many companies should get comfy with the terms around transparency and accountability. Those are going to be a really significant part of any type of legislation that comes out in this space.
And following up on that, how is the RBA helping members meet those future expectations?
I think with all of these upcoming regulations, we're moving in the environmental space from what could be seen as voluntarily to mandatory. And so we're working on our programming to really support members as we make this transition through a variety of surveys. So, like our emissions management tool, we've developed programmatic materials to collect information on water and waste data. And we're continually working with our working group for ideas on trends and kind of what the member is looking for.
Great. Again, thank you, Dan and Jordan, for joining us today and for the interesting updates on the RBA's effort in the environmental space. We look forward to providing additional updates in future episodes of the RBA Today. Thank you very much for your time.